This is Kyle McCord, and you're listening to Austin, Felix, and Matt on the Devy Debate.
Welcome to the Devy Debate. All right, boys. Are we ready to debate? Austin, you tweeted something, or you tweeted your running back ranking. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand, fellas. You jumped up enough.
That's Austin Nace.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say he stepped out, but
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncork for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate, Dax Milne, on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And this time it's Fields on the carry. Watch out. Justin Fields. Hello, Columbus. 51 yards.
Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Got to get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Got to continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies to Kirk Street. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
It's 9:30 Eastern time, the only time zone that improved its draft stock at its pro day. That means it's time for the Devy Debate, brought to you by CampusToCanton.com. That's Matt Bruning. That's Austin Nace, back from his mission trip in the squalor. That is Columbus, Ohio, and I'm Felix Sharp on a dazzling version of tonight's show. What is the domino effect of the 49ers trade up to number 3? Georgia wide receivers are dropping like flies, and the Devy Debate crew heads to Fantasy's court. But we start with the silly season that is the lead up to the NFL draft. Reports are that the San Francisco 49ers have traded up to number 3, not for Justin Fields, not for Trey Lance, but for one-time Kentucky commit, one Michael McCorkle-Jones. That's right. Austin, tell me we're in the twilight zone.
Yeah, I learned when I was looking up, working on my show sheet or my show notes here tonight, that was Mac Jones' actual name. I had no idea that his name was Michael McCorkle. I don't know if that bumps him up my board or down my board or what I do with that information. Yeah, I mean, we were chatting about this earlier. I don't ever want to hear somebody say, they use the comeback on Twitter again, that, us as people on Twitter are worse off than some of these NFL GMs. I mean, at best, we're all just guessing, right? And that's never been more apparent than hearing that a team wanted to trade up to number 3 to take Mac Jones, who I can't ever imagine trading up for a quarterback with fewer traits that I would want in a quarterback, besides the fact that he's smart. That's just such a waste of draft capital. Like, you have 3 first-round picks to move up there. That's a career ender for those guys if he doesn't work out. Matt, I think you're next.
Oh, my bad. I'm bumping him up because his middle name is McCorkle. He's going above Justin Fields now. I don't even care about Fields anymore. It's Zach Wilson, McCorkle, Justin Fields. I don't believe it. So to me, we're not in the twilight zone. I think all this hype about them going to his pro day is overrated. If you guys looked, there was a story floating out there that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch had already been to a QB camp that had Justin Fields at it. They already had their scouting report done on him. So they go to Mac Jones to do their homework on him. It makes a ton of sense. You go and you do all your homework on every single quarterback. They were at Zach Wilson's pro day, I believe. They were at Trey Lance's. I know that for sure. They go to Mac Jones, you get all your homework done on every single quarterback. I agree with Austin. You don't trade up to number 3, give up 2 first-round picks in the next 2 drafts to get Mac Jones, only because I think you could have gotten Mac Jones where you already were. So I believe they were trading up to either get Fields or Lance. In my opinion, it's Fields, but I don't think that they're trading up to get Mac Jones.
Listen, I have been the biggest, you can call me a Bustin' Fields hater, but hold the phone. I mean, he has some flaws. Not as good at improvising as you would think for a player and an athlete of his caliber. He's a perfectionist. Causes him to be slower with his reaction time. That's according to Jordan Reed of the Draft Network, has done some really good work on Justin Fields. And he plays the game as though he wants to prove that he's a passer and not a runner. And the argument that he should be QB2 because he's always been QB2, that just isn't persuasive. All of that said, his accuracy is outstanding. His size-adjusted athleticism is outstanding. And as I have commented on this show plenty of times, even though Bruning will not give me credit for it, the thing that I am most impressed by with Justin Fields is his leadership. It's the leadership on that team and the leadership that he showed being the face of college football with the We Want to Play campaign. There is no chance that San Francisco is trading up to get Mac Jones over Justin Fields. There's just no chance that happens. Zilch, zero. If they do, if San Francisco takes Mac Jones over Justin Fields, I'll do this show wearing an Ohio State hat. One show. I'll do one show wearing an Ohio State hat. I don't really feel threatened.
That's a lot tamer than what I thought was about to come out of your mouth as to what you were going to do.
What were you going to? What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know, but it wasn't that.
I mean, Bruning agreed to sing the Michigan fight song, so I figured I'll throw this out there and I'll wear an Ohio State hat for at least a show. Bruning, as you said, I don't care that Shanahan and Lynch went to Michael McCorkle's pro day. You mentioned that QB camp that they went to. There's some sort of like collective or quarterback organization that they're a part of. RJ Young talked about it yesterday on his show. And those guys, they know each other already. I don't really care where if they were at the pro day or not. As a matter of fact, if I didn't want Justin Fields, the last place I would be at is, if I wanted Justin Fields, the last place I would be is at his pro day. The last place I would be was at his pro day. I mean, we've seen enough from Justin Fields. I don't need to be at his pro day to know what he can do. We have another guest on the show today. Very happy to have Matt Jackson. He's a ranker at Dynasty Nerds. He co-hosts the Devy Happy Hour with Skip Newton, a good friend of mine. He's at the does Devy work at the Fantasy Authority also. Mr. Jackson, Kyle Shanahan traded up to number 3 to take Michael McCorkle Jones. What's your reaction to that?
Man, I don't buy it at all. When you look at what they gave up, the price they had to pay to move up and get those picks, when you're going to draft a quarterback that you could get at the spot that you were at, you don't pull off that kind of trade. You don't give up that kind of firepower to pick the safe quarterback in this draft. I mean, you look at Mac Jones. He hasn't faced pressure all that much. I mean, we don't know how he's going to react when he gets NFL blitzes thrown at him. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He's got pretty great ball placement and accuracy, but you don't give up that kind of firepower to go up and get the safe pick of this draft. I mean, I think with beyond a shadow of a doubt that pick is either going to be Justin Fields or it's going to be Trey Lance. I mean, I don't know how you don't pick a quarterback with that upside when you're looking to change the face of your franchise and get somebody better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's not doing it. I don't know how you're going to give up the heat, the amount of picks that they gave up to go and get Mac Jones to say that he's going to do it. I don't see it. I don't understand it.
That's what I was thinking, is like, how are you going to give up on Jimmy Garoppolo to trade up for Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, that's maybe at his ceiling, Jimmy Garoppolo is within Mac Jones's range of outcomes. I don't know does anybody think that he could be a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, that seems to be where he would end up. Austin?
I mean, his ceiling, is like Derek Carr, or if you put him in an offense where he throws a ton of times every year, like Carr did this past year or 2 years ago or whatever it was, he had his big fantasy year. Then maybe. I mean, it's the modern NFL. You can't touch the wide receivers and you can't kill the quarterback. So I would never count him out to have at least 1 or 2 really good years. But he's not the kind of guy where I'm like building an NFL team or a dynasty team around him. But just on another are the San Francisco's roster rounded out well enough that like the quarterback is the only thing they're missing? Like that was the other thought I had when that happened. Like they're losing some pieces on defense just because they're getting squeezed out based on cap. I like their offensive weapons a lot. Their line is fine. I don't think it's amazing or anything. So I'm not sure that I even thought that they were a quarterback away anyway. Like if that was even a smart move to give up that much, but.
Well, we'll see what happens there. That 49ers trade, I feel like it's going to create a domino effect. Matt, we've got 5 quarterbacks that I believe who will end up in the first round. And I think when it's all said and done, that we're going to see 5 quarterbacks potentially go with the first 5 picks. Right now, that draft order is Jacksonville, New York, San Francisco, Atlanta, and Cincinnati. Now, Atlanta just re-signed Matt Ryan to an extension, a long extension. I could still see Atlanta taking a quarterback, especially if there is a young franchise quarterback available, you have to take them. I think that there are at least 4 in this draft class. That's, unheard of. I think that Atlanta could take a quarterback. And if Cincinnati is smart, I think that they want Penei Sewell, but they should trade down to whoever wants that fifth quarterback to take that 5th QB. So I think that the first 5 picks are going to be quarterbacks. Do you agree? Where do you see the remaining 4 landing after Trevor Lawrence is taken number 1?
So we know Trevor Lawrence is going to go 1. That's out the window now. No one's going to argue that. We all know where he's going. He's going to Jacksonville. I can see where you're coming from, where the first 5 picks could potentially be quarterbacks, because we haven't seen this type of quarterback talent come in the amount of first-round picks that we're going to see in quite a long time. But I just don't see it happening. I could see Atlanta riding with Matt Ryan a few more years, possibly taking somebody like I've seen Kyle Pitts mock to him a lot. You getting that playmaker on that type of offense would be fits for defensive coordinators. And I don't see a situation where, the Cincinnati trades down when Penei Sewell is staring them in the face. Now, if they can trade down and pick up a guy like Rashawn Slater and still bolster that line and protect Joe Burrow, that might be beneficial to him. But, you've got to protect Burrow. He suffered that gruesome injury in the pocket. You've got to get him some blindside help and protect the face of your franchise, because if they can get him up, keep him upright, he's going to be dangerous. So, Carolina, you look at Carolina could be a potential trade-up target. I also like New England to possibly sneak up. You could have maybe Denver to sneak up if they want to pay enough to move up. So, you got some teams that can potentially move up, but I don't see the first 5 picks, especially with the top heaviness of offensive tackle, wide receivers, Jamar Chase going in the early first round. There's just so many variables. I don't see the top 5 quarterbacks going off in the top 5 picks.
Austin, one domino that's going to fall is Sam Darnold. Whether or not he's going to stay with the Jets or be somewhere else, how do you see that situation playing out?
Yeah, I think they move him on draft day. I'm not sure what they're going to get, though. I saw that article came out yesterday or 2 days ago or something, where somebody had interviewed some NFL front office people, and they said that they thought the best they'd get for him is like a 3rd rounder, and even that might be a little bit rich, because you kill your leverage as soon as you make that 2nd pick. So if they want to maximize leverage, I think they have to get rid of it before then. But at the same time, everybody knows that they're taking a quarterback there. I don't think there's any doubt about that at this point. That they've made it pretty well known. I would love to have him in Pittsburgh if he's still available.
That's why I threw the question to you, is because I think that would be a perfect spot for him.
Yeah, even if he's never great, I think he's at least already better than everybody else besides Ben we have on the roster. And Ben only has 1 year left. They set that contract up to cut him after this year. I think he's significantly better than Mason Rudolph, and I think Haskins could do maybe some things in the league, but I would take Darnold over Haskins every day of the week. So if I was the Steelers, I'd be fine making some sort of. I think we have 2 4ths, if I remember correctly, and I think I would try to trade the earlier of those 2 on draft day and see if you can get them with that pick. I think that would be a solid move for all parties.
Well, I want to stay there for a minute. You get Sam Darnold and he takes over for Ben Roethlisberger, let's say next year. Does that help Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool? Do they maintain their value if Sam Darnold is the quarterback, or does it increase their value? How does it affect their value if Sam Darnold's the quarterback?
I don't know. We haven't I haven't watched, the Jets necessarily enough to know whether Darnold has a tendency, does he favor the slot? Does he does he really like to push the ball downfield? Because it's not like that offense has exactly been stacked around him to help him and kind of figure those things out. I don't think it would hurt their value at all. I'm not the biggest Deontay guy in the world. We might have just seen his best season of his career just because of the volume that he got. But I can't imagine that he would be any worse for their value than Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins or whatever other guy we try to bring in this offseason. So the coaches and everybody were at Texas A&M. I'm really hoping it wasn't for Kellen Mond, because I'd rather have Darnold than Kellen Mond. So I think he would help all of their values, to be honest.
Bruning, Jackson mentioned a couple of teams, New England, Carolina, that could potentially trade up to that number 4, number 5 spot. Are those the teams that you could see trading up, or there's somebody that we're missing?
No, I think those are the two biggest ones, especially if obviously San Francisco goes Fields or Lance. Then I do think Carolina tries to move up probably into that 4 spot, because I think Atlanta has so many needs outside of just really, I do think they need a future quarterback, but offensive line help. They need defensive help bad. They can get a couple picks, drop back with Carolina. They move up, take Trey Lance. I've said many times I thought Zach Wilson would be a great land to go there, but I don't think he falls past the Jets now with all the rumors we're hearing. So, I don't think New England does it because they've just never really done it. So it would be very shocking to me to see them to trade up to try and get a guy like Trey Lance. Maybe Chicago. We've seen them stupidly move up like 6 picks, I think is what it was back when they took Mitch Trubisky at 2. Maybe they was it 1? They only moved up 1 spot. They gave all that for 1 spot? Okay.
I think they gave it all for 1 spot, yeah.
That makes it even worse. So I can see them very stupidly trading like the next 6 years first-round picks to move up from where are they at now, 20 to 5 or whatever, 4 to go up and get a Trey Lance, which I still think would be great for their franchise. They'd be screwed in the long term. But outside of really Carolina, I don't think Denver does it. So outside of Carolina, maybe Chicago.
Chicago's a good one. Funny thing is, I don't think that we see Carolina trade up if Mac Jones is the last one available. So far, I think that team has made good decisions, and I just don't trading up for Mac Jones does not appear to be a good decision, at least in my opinion. All right, there's a lot of stuff going on in the college football world and football in general right now, even though it's March, about to be April. Austin, we had some big news in Georgia after having big news in Georgia last week. Talk to us about Jermaine Burton.
Yeah, I think Georgia fans are probably tired of big news at this point. They'd rather have a quiet week here after yesterday. I think we all know by now George Pickens, torn ACL. We're all saying he's out for the season. Whether he misses everything or not, I think is still up for debate a little bit. But he's going to miss the majority of the season at best. And Jermaine Burton, who was supposed to kind of be the replacement as their alpha outside receiver, went down in practice yesterday, carted off the field, and rumors spread really quickly that it was another out for the season type of deal. Sounds like he only hyperextended his knee, so that usually means no structural damage, anything like that. So we are hoping that is the case. I haven't heard any firm confirmation on that. If he does go down, though, I know this is just a little bit of a news bit here, but if you look at the rest of that depth chart, I do think that Georgia is one of the schools out there that is best equipped to deal with losing a wide receiver or 2 on the outside. But the question mark was really big there because you have Kearis Jackson in the slot. He can't play outside, in my opinion. Then you have Dominic Blaylock, 2 straight seasons ended with significant knee injury. Marcus Roseme pulled a DAC at the end of last year with his ankle. Not sure what he looks like in 2021. You have Arian Smith, who's a speedster, recruiting pedigree. I'm not sure he's an alpha, though. Justin Robinson, 6'4", 220. Felix would probably love him. He's in that Troy O'Meary, level, stylistically of player. But raw, second-year guy, I'm not sure he's ready. a couple 3-star true freshmen, and then Demetrius Robertson, who is probably the biggest disappointment in college football. So, we do have to hope that Burton comes back, because I think there's a lot of potential there, but I'm not sure that anybody really can fill that void like those two guys that they've lost probably can.
Austin, let's project to 2023. What is Burton's ceiling in the NFL? Do you think that he could be, a DJ Moore type who's a little bit smaller but still a primary receiver, or is he better profiled as a number 2 that can stretch the field?
I need to see another year out of him, because he did have that huge game, but he was pretty quiet outside of that, and I am hoping that JT Daniels, they're saying he looks a lot better this spring. They were saying last year like he was still walking around with a limp. He was really not all the way back. So I think with a healthy JT Daniels, and if Burton plays this year, I really am interested to see what he can do. I do think I have him graded as like a wide receiver 2 right now, but at true freshman year, a lot can change before 2023, 2024, whenever he decides to come out.
Jackson, what do you think Burton's upside is?
Right now, day 2 is a ceiling that I see right now. You've got that big game that Austin talked about, but outside of that one massive blow-up game, he hasn't really done much. Now with Pickens with the torn ACL, if Burton's able to come back and the injury's not as bad as we're thinking it is, obviously that we're talking about, he might be able to have a higher ceiling than that and improve his draft stock a little bit. But as of right now, I need to see more. He's a day 2 cat for me right now.
The other big news is obviously Taj Washington, who had a dynamic redshirt freshman season last year for Memphis. Matt, where is he going, and what are your expectations for him?
So he entered the transfer portal last when was it that he went in there? Just a couple days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was within a week.
Last week, yeah. And then within a week has already landed at USC. 743 yards and 7 touchdowns last year for Memphis. I find it a little bit interesting that he's going to USC. Obviously, you've got Drake London, who many will, I think, probably give you as the best wide receiver on that roster. I really like Gary Bryant. I also do still like Brew McCoy a lot. I know Austin's not a big fan of Brew at the moment, but I still think he's good. So Taj goes in there. I don't know. Maybe he slides into the X over Joshua Jackson. I guess. I don't know. I would assume that's where he's going there for. I would imagine he goes there because he thinks he's going to get playing time. I don't know why he left. I tried to look. I cannot see why he left Memphis overall. Maybe he just doesn't think they're probably not going to be a good team this year, but I don't see much for him. He's not someone that really excites me on that offense. I'm also someone who's much further down on Keaton Slovis than others. I've got him, I believe, as my QB 15 right now in college. So I don't think him going there is going to help his value because he's getting Slovis at quarterback either. I still think the targets are going to go through London, Bryant, then McCoy. So I'm just not sure he has any real value.
I don't know that Taj Washington is an X. I think that the decision to transfer from Memphis to USC has everything to do with him thinking that it sets him up better for the NFL draft. I don't know that we seen of all of these transfer portals. I don't know that we've seen someone trade up from G5 to Power 5. Just yet. I don't think we had that. It feels like that's the first time we've seen that. Everyone else is either traded laterally or down. So just another reason to stay up and for these games starting at 10 Eastern sometimes for USC or 9 a.m. or the 9 a.m. Pacific time for those games that they started at noon last year. I really like that. They need to keep doing that. All right. I've been waiting for this segment. Bruning, we're doing fantasy court.
Yeah.
Bruning, can I throw it to you? Can you set it up? Can you handle it from here? Judge, can you handle it from here?
I really don't want to do this. I'm only doing this because I saw Austin's crappy poll, and this is going to be freaking god awful.
The people want it, Matt. The people want it.
Okay. Oh man, this is going to suck. I don't know how to do a Southern accent. All right. God, this is gonna be so bad. Can I take the camera off? Because I'm gonna get really red in the face here in a minute because I don't like being embarrassed. All right, here we go. Fantasy Court is in session. Case number 21 CI00693. In the matter of oops, I traded for David Moore, not DJ Moore. Before you, the Honorable Judge Matthew Devereaux Brooding and Matthew Willie G. Jackson presiding. For the plaintiff, Austin Nace. Is that all I say?
Yeah.
And for the defense, Felix H. Sharp II. Will counsel identify themselves for the record?
Austin, you go first.
I don't ever go to court. Hi, I'm Austin.
Felix Sharp for the defendant, Your Honor.
The case today. A person in your league accidentally trades for David Moore instead of DJ Moore. When the trade goes through, they realize what they have done. Do you overturn the trade? Yes or no?
Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to allow this trade to stand would be one of the biggest miscarriages of justice that the fantasy community has ever seen. And moreover, allowing bad faith maneuvers such as this one challenges the integrity of not only our leagues, but the relationships that we form within. Just a moment to lay out the facts here before us. The offerer in this instance sends out a trade offer to fellow owners in which he or she offered D. Moore, Carolina, for value commensurate with the young Panthers wide receiver. Another owner accepted. However, on closer examination, the deal did not involve DJ Moore, but recently signed David Moore, a low-end fantasy wide receiver with virtually zero relevance. Both show as D Moore on the fantasy website and are virtually indistinguishable without further inspection. Offerer sent this deceptive offer with one goal in mind: to dupe fellow managers into giving up something in exchange for less than what they thought they were receiving. The offerer knew that his fellow managers would see D. Moore, Carolina, and assume, rightfully so, that the trade involved DJ Moore, the wide receiver who has been on the Panthers for 3 years at this point. Many managers are likely not even aware that another D. Moore, David Moore, formerly of the Seahawks, signed with the Panthers this offseason. Should such ignorance be held against them? There is precedent to support a finding that a bad faith negotiation, and let me be clear, the above is a clear example of a bad faith negotiation, cannot stand. And to allow this type of deal not only impacts the two managers of these teams, but the league as a whole. Lopsided trades are bad for leagues. This is a fact. There is no argument about it. They can shift the power in a league from one team to another, sometime for years. DJ Moore is 23 years old. Barring unforeseen injury or other circumstance, he has 5 to 7 years left of high-end productivity. Should those that have not negotiated in bad faith be damaged in such a way? The stakes are too high, and the benefits of a free economy are too low to allow deals such as this to stand. I ask you to find in favor of my client and overturn this deal. Thank you very much.
Oh, Mr. Ness. Or is it Nance? I just went British there. Nance. Damn it. Very convincing evidence. Mr. Sharp, your rebuttal.
Your Honors, Mr. Nace, the facts of this case are simple and straightforward. One league manager offered a trade. A second league manager accepted. That's it. Regardless of the players involved or the managers, this was simply a trade. It happens every day in fantasy football. There's no allegation of collusion. There's no allegation of a violation of a league rule. My opponent has no objective leg to stand on in support of overturning this trade. Instead, he asked this court for a subjective application of fairness. That's a term that's incapable of consistent application in fantasy football leagues. Is it fair when the second highest scoring team just so happens to play the highest scoring team in a given week? Is it fair when league mates trade up in a draft to select a player that he or she knows the next team intended to take? Is it fair when higher scoring teams lose out in the playoffs, lose playoff spots to teams that had better overall records? No, none of these things are fair. But the court should not get involved in subjective applications of fairness. Rather, the court should maintain its objectivity and enforce league rules. There was no league rule broken here. In fact, trading in the absence of collusion is permitted and encouraged by the league in order to foster activity and encourage engagement. The court cannot go down this slippery road of applying flimsy definitions of fairness to overturn trades that two consenting league managers agree to. For those reasons, I'd request that the court reject my opponent's request and uphold this trade.
Very, very convincing, Mr. Sharp, and well delivered. Mr. Jackson, your final verdict.
Gentlemen, what we have here is a case of league integrity versus failure to look at the details of said trade. It is up to a person that is accepting a trade to look at all the fine print of a trade before hitting the accept button or the decline button. They must, it is on them, it is on their team and their willingness to accept a trade or decline a trade based on the facts of the argument and the facts of the trade. That is on them as the general managers of said team. However, accepting a trade like this could potentially set the league back for potential years just based on the facts of if a team becomes overpowered because, you know, some lesser player was given in the fact that we thought it was DJ Moore instead of a lesser player. However, with these facts and the arguments presented, I choose to rule in favor of Mr. Sharp.
I object. I rule in Mr. Nance's favor. Mistrial. Mistrial. I give a mistrial.
If you have a fantasy court question or trade, give it to us at Devy Debate on Twitter or hit any one of us up on Twitter. We will take your case, and we probably need to have either one judge or three, but two is just it will lead to a mistrial like it just did. That was fun. And Bruning, that was a good accent, bro. I don't know why you hesitated about doing that. That was just fine. That was just fine for the role. All right. Before we get into the Devy debates, some questions for you specifically, Mr. Jackson. Who's the best C2C value right now in Campus Canton leagues?
So that's a hard question because C2C ADP is so hard to get a hold of. But with that question in mind, there's a guy that I love in C2C mid to late rounds, and that man is Pittsburgh wide receiver Jordan Addison. When you look at what he's done on the field, he's a guy that people are sleeping on for some reason. I don't know if it's because he plays for Pittsburgh. I don't know if it's because he plays in the slot. However, last season, all he did was catch 60 passes for 666 yards and 4 touchdowns, was a slot monster, showed solid hands, solid route running, elusiveness in open space. And for some reason, nobody out there is talking about Mr. Jordan Addison. I think that's a huge misplace in judgment. I think he needs to start getting the attention that he deserves and the respect on his name that he deserves, because the NFL uses these slot guys all the time. The term slot receiver is not as degraded as it once was. So give me all the shares of Jordan Addison that I can get my hands on.
Well, I just learned that I will not have Jordan Addison in any leagues. He had 60 receptions last year for 666 yards. He's probably down with Nas X, and I will not be owning him in any leagues. All right, boys. Are we ready for the Devy debates?
Let's do it. I missed these.
Matt Bruning is shaking his head in this is a medium where sound is what we need here. But thank you, Bruning. All right.
I disagree.
Mr. Jackson,
there are a lot of people watching, so video works just as well.
Mr. Jackson, we're going to start with you. Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. USC, all considered high-powered offenses with a great wide receiver core, possibly questions at quarterback. Do any of these teams have two or more wide receivers, or let's just say two wide receivers over 1,000 receiving yards in 2021?
What I like about that question, Felix, is you've now opened the door to me and Matt talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we've got the numbers here tonight, so we're going to roll on it. I think the easy choice here is Ohio State. You've got two great receivers for Ohio State. I love me some Garrett Wilson. I think he's a guy that is going to have a huge breakout year. Is going to explode even more than he already has. Ohio State's the easy choice here, and that they easily have two receivers over 1,000 yards. However, with that being said, I do like Alabama. I like John Mechie. I've been high on John Mechie all offseason. I think he could be a guy that's going to be that great next first-round receiver for Alabama. And as crazy as it might sound, I really like an incoming freshman by the name of JoJo Earl to come in, and he most likely won't have 1,000 yards, but he is a clone of what I see in Jalen Waddle's game, his return ability, his elusiveness and speed in the open field. And I think Alabama is a dark horse to have two great, solid wide receivers for yet another year.
I agree with Mr. Jackson. It's very easy. All right, sorry, I'll go away. I think the Ohio State University and Alabama are the only two I think it happens with, because I do believe in Bryce Young being a very good quarterback. I think one of those freshmen is going to step up. They've got a good receiving core. I mean, my biggest fear, obviously, with Ohio State is the quarterback position. You know, is it going to be we all know who I think it's going to be. I believe Kyle McCord is going to win the job. But if it is C.J. Stroud who ends up winning it, I still think that they are going to run the ball a lot with Master Teague and Travion Henderson, which then could limit them to getting there. But, I mean, both of those guys – I don't agree with them saying there are a lot of people saying that they're the best two wide receivers in the nation. I mean, they're in the top 10. I believe Garrett Wilson's right there with David Bell as my rankings. David Bell's number 1, Garrett Wilson 2. But Chris Olave, I think, is like 5 for me right now. So he's up there, but I don't think they're the best 2 in the nation. But I think they have a very realistic shot of getting to 1,000 yards, because I think that defense takes a little bit of a step back. The schedule outside of a couple early games is not that difficult for the Buckeyes. And I do expect that they're going to want their quarterbacks to be in game, whoever the starter is, to be in game the entire time, calling plays there. I don't think they're going to stop scoring at any point.
So I don't, yes, JSN is going for 1,200. Thank you, Boz. I don't know why we all just counted out USC so quickly in that. So USC last year, Drake London is probably the guy there this year. He's never been the wide receiver 1 in an offense. So we're not, we need to see that he can fill that role, but let's assume that he does. He last year went 33 for 502 in 6 games. They play 12 or 13 game schedule, and he sees a slight uptick in targets as a result of being their wide receiver 1. I don't see any reason why he doesn't hit 1,000 yards. I actually have USC as probably the most likely to have somebody at 1,000, because I think that conference is pretty wide open. They're going to pass the ball a ton. And so I think Drake London is in USC probably, when I ranked him here, is probably the most realistic option. I think the second most likely is Alabama. I think John Mechie gets to 1,000 easily. I don't
wide receivers, not 1. 2 wide
shit,
receivers.
was it?
Yeah.
2 wide receivers.
Yeah,
wow. I totally misread the question.
2 people.
Oh, I don't think any of those teams do it then.
No, not going to support 2 wide receivers over 1,000 yards. That's not going to happen.
Good job, Matt Bruning. Way to read the show sheet. I'm proud of you, buddy. Welcome back.
No teams do it. Next question.
I mean, I actually agree with Austin. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Bruning, the Mats. I think you're out of your damn minds as you think 2 of Ohio State's receivers go over 1,000 yards for a team that's going to be probably run heavy, for a first time starting quarterback. So I just don't see that happening. But I mean, let me not say, I'm saying too many good things about Justin Fields today, but through 6 games, he had Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson over 700 yards receiving. I mean, that just shows you how good of a season he had last season in a season truncated by COVID-19.
Olave missing a game as well because of COVID.
Thanks. All right. We got a little game of either or that we like to play around here, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Jackson, since you are our guest. Give us your answer and then elaborate as much as you'd like. All right. Either or, Grayson McCall, the option quarterback for Coastal Carolina, or Matt Corral, the gunslinger for Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels.
Give me Grayson McCall on that all day. Yes, he ran an option offense. I loved his completion percentage. I mean, there were a lot of short throws going on in that offense. From the little that I watched about Coastal Carolina, but I mean, you got a 26-3 interception ratio, close to a 70% completion percentage. When I watched, this is more for me about Matt Corral than it is about Grayson McCall. Corral was supporting probably the highest upside, one of the highest upside receivers in this draft, and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, I think, carried him a whole lot more than people are willing to admit. And Matt Corral had some times and some spots where he was up and down, and he did some things right, really right, and he did some things really wrong. So I like what I saw from Grayson McCall more than I did from Matt Corral.
I'll jump. Go ahead, Bruni. All right. I'm going to go with actually Corral here for a couple of reasons. One is that I think that he has a more traditional NFL skill set than Grayson McCall. I like Grayson McCall. I wrote up something for Dynasty Nerds on him very early. I just don't know that he has the NFL arm talent yet. I know that Matt Corral does. The problem is he might throw it to the other team. However, 2022 is relatively light on quarterbacks after Rattler and Howe. It's not out of the question that Matt Corral could be the third quarterback taken in that draft. He is talented enough to be the third quarterback taken. He just needs to get it together with his decision-making. But we've seen Jameis Winston, who is just as prone to throwing interceptions, be the first overall pick in the NFL draft. So I'm going to go with Matt Corral here because I'm pretty certain that he is an NFL quarterback. I'm not sure that Grayson McCall is just yet.
Since this is the show of bad impressions, I'm going to continue doing it. I also like to live dangerously, and that was supposed to be like Austin Powers. I'm going to go Matt Corral as well. Based on everything Felix said, that I was literally going to say all that. The Jameis Winston thing, I think Corral has better NFL upside. And he's going to help you win on the college side this year a lot. I think he's going to put up a ton of points, and I care about that as well. So you get that one great year of college, and I do expect him to be drafted in the NFL and has what looks to be an NFL future. So I will take Corral.
Yeah, I don't know if the NFL is actually going to like McCall or not. If he runs out of the option or whatever they run there for the next year or two, if he never plays in anything pro style, I have a hard time believing the NFL likes him. And I think they'll like Corral. I think some team, we just saw a team potentially trade up to 3 for Mac Jones. It's some team will fall in love with something about with his skill set, and I think he goes earlier than McCall. So,
Austin, let's start with you again. I really like this question. We got DeMarcus Bowman, who was a 5-star running back, went to Clemson and then transferred from Clemson to Florida. Would you take either him or the under-the-radar 3-star prospect who's done nothing but produce at University of Texas El Paso? Is that right? For Sincere McCormick. Are you going to take Sincere McCormick or DeMarcus Bowman?
Well, you totally just mashed those two up there for me. I would rather have Sincere McCormick. I think he's a bit underrated. And amongst the general whatever, I don't think he's not an outstanding athlete, whatever you want to say about it. But I think we've seen over the past few years, you don't need to be an outstanding athlete at the position. You just have to be a good athlete. And I think he's a good athlete. I think he can catch the ball. I think he has, the vision and just that natural feel for running the football. You can watch him and just see him, manipulate blockers on second and third levels. We haven't seen any of that out of Bowman just because he hasn't played at all in college. He could be the upside. Maybe the upside for DeMarcus Bowman is a little bit more, 5-star guy. He's probably the better athlete. I think that's pretty inarguable. And he's in, at a school that he's going to be surrounded by better talent. McCormick is the offense at UTEP, whereas he's a part of the offense at Florida, most likely. with all those things factored in, I think McCormick is the better player. I think he's the better prospect at this point in time. In a regular Devy or a C2C draft, either, I would rather have McCormick over Bowman.
Mr. Jackson, it is the University of Texas. The University of Texas.
San Antonio, aren't they?
San Antonio. Yeah. Are you going to take DeMarcus Bowman or Sincere McCormick? Who would you rather have?
I'm with Austin here. I'd rather have Sincere McCormick just for the sheer fact that I've seen him do it on the football field. I mean, we haven't seen DeMarcus Bowman do it yet. He's got the speed. I mean, there's no denying his electric ability. You know, a lot of people were comparing him to Travis Etienne and just his sheer game speed, but we haven't seen it yet. And from everything that we've learned about incoming freshmen into college, they're at best, in your best classes, you're talking a 30% hit rate. And I mean, we've already went above and beyond that, and just that loaded 2023 running back class that we've got coming in. I don't like playing the odds in that. Give me the guy on the field that I've seen do it based on somebody that we haven't seen do it in possibly an already stacked running back class.
I'm with them. Give me the UTSA Roadrunner and Sincere McCormick. He's going to produce for you this year, and I believe he has some kind of NFL future. I just don't believe in Florida running backs.
Bruning, back to you with Zach Charbonnet, the Michigan transferee to UCLA, or Jalen Berger, the sophomore at Wisconsin?
I'm going to go with Charbonnet because of the UCLA offense there with Chip Kelly. I know. I mean, I had to hold back the throw up a little bit as well there. But, since they have Peyton Manning there in Wisconsin at quarterback, I don't expect Jalen Berger to get a lot of run, honestly. I mean, Peyton Manning's going to control that offense. He's going to pass the ball around. I don't know if he's going to check. He might check the ball down a little bit. I'm just not sold on Berger. And Charbonnet has people still believe that he can be the 5-star talent. He was a 5-star, right? They believe that he could be the talent that he was when he went to Michigan. And go into Chip Kelly's offense, we've seen lesser prospects go into the NFL coming out of that system. And I think Charbonnet is one of the better running backs he's had. He's going to get a lot of run this year. So again, helping you on the college side, I think he'll get some run in the NFL. And I've always been a person that I want my running backs in the NFL sooner rather than later. So I get him in the NFL next year. So not by much, but give me Zach Charbonnet.
I would rather have Berger just because I think he has slightly better footwork, but they're both kind of similar runners. You know, I comp Jalen Berger. I think he reminds me a lot of James Conner in terms of his stiffer upright running style, but it's James Conner. And I don't mean this in any sort of demeaning or crappy way, because I'm a huge Pitt and Steelers fan, post-cancer James Conner. I think we all agree he was a little more fluid and looked a little more, dynamic before he missed that year with cancer. I think Berger does not look like that Connor. He scares me a little bit with how he runs, but I still like him a little bit more than Charbonnet, who I think borders on plotter territory. I do want to see what he does at UCLA this year, but give me Berger of those two.
That question is essentially, do you want the next great Wisconsin running back, or do you want a bag of dog shit? That's how I heard that question.
Well, Mr. Jackson, let's come back to you. I really like this question. I'm really high on Mookie Cooper and his ability to be utilized in that Missouri offense. But, man, JoJo Earl, I think a lot of people in the Devy and C2C community are excited about him. But Mookie Cooper is just as athletic. Who are you taking, Mookie Cooper or JoJo Earl?
Give me all the JoJo Earl I can get my hands on this season. I mean, just what he does in the open field is dynamite. I mean, he's electric in the open field. He's got some ability to, even at his size, to go up and high point the ball and to go up and get it. And that's something that I value really highly. He's got the chops to slide in and fill that Jalen Waddle role. And I think he's going to do that wonderfully. I think he's going to be exceptional at that role. So I'm getting all the JoJo Earl this offseason that I can get my hands on, and I'm not looking back.
For shame. For shame, sir. Mookie Cooper all day long is going to be the number one in that offense. They've got nobody else to throw the ball to. I don't even know if JoJo Earl is going to catch a pass this year at Alabama. Is he going to start? We don't know. JoJo World's got a ton of talent, but I can't say I've seen it out of Mookie Cooper because I haven't, but I believe in Mookie Cooper. Give me the former Ohio State Buckeye, and plus, well, you obviously don't have the access to the ADP that I do, but getting him like 15 rounds later than JoJo Earl helps a lot in that as well. So
the value question is really hard, but JoJo Earl, I think, is going to be one of my favorite players in college football this season. And that Alabama team has an opening for a player with his skill set. I think he would be competing with Slade Bolden for the slot there, and I think he could do some things that Slade Bolden can't do. Austin, I'm assuming that you're taking JoJo Earl here, but.
Yeah, I would take Earl. I do think, Matt, you're making some dangerous assumptions that Cooper is going to be the number one guy in Missouri this year. They have, what's his name that's returning? Is it Jalen Knox is their big guy?
Dangerously.
I should have known that was coming. And they have Jordan not Jordan Matthews. Who was the wide receiver that played for Missouri there like a decade ago that went to the NFL and was really good?
Jeremy Maclin?
Yes, Jeremy Macklin's brother is there too. So I don't think it's necessarily a foregone conclusion that Mookie Cooper is the number one wide receiver there.
You want to make a show bet?
Are we just talking this year?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's talk after the show because we're running long.
Yes.
Let's talk after the show.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll get a show bet.
All right. Let's do one of these. I'm going to give you, and Matt Jackson, we'll start with you. Either, neither, or both. I'm going to make a statement. You tell me either one is right, or both, or neither. Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler both make the playoff this year.
Spencer Rattler does. Sam Howell does not. And that's because I watch Carolina football every single year, and they always find a way to screw up a playoff chance.
I will take the either and Sam Howell because I'll say the same thing about Oklahoma. They always find a way to screw that up.
I don't think North Carolina is going to be as good as we think they are this year. That's just a prediction that I'm throwing out. I could see them like being the disappointing top, whatever they are in preseason, top 7 or 10.
So
whatever we give them, but
either, neither, or both.
So
now
either.
Let's trash on North Carolina.
I ethered it. I don't know what you wanted out of that besides that.
Yeah, I don't think North Carolina is going to be very good either. I'm sorry, I'd do the same thing that Austin did, and I've got Oklahoma winning a national championship this year. I think I've said that a bunch of times on this show.
Carolina's lost so many offensive starters. I mean, they've lost 2,000 yard rushers. They've lost two receivers. I mean, they've got new guys coming in. How are you going to bring a bunch of new guys in and go immediately to the playoffs? I just don't see it.
One more before the show's final question. One more, either, neither, or both. Bryce Young and JT Daniels, both of them, or Bryce Young or JT Daniels make the playoffs. Either, neither, or both. Matt Jackson.
That's the either again with Bryce Young. I love Bryce Young's talent. I think he's going to immediately step in and be the next great quarterback that we see in college football. We talked about him on the Devy Happy Hour. Shaq, whenever he was with us, comped him to the next Patrick Mahomes, and we thought that was a little crazy. But you can see glimpses of some of the stuff Patrick Mahomes does in Bryce Young's game. Give me Bryce Young, JT Daniels. I don't know who he's going to throw the ball to. I don't know what that offense is going to look like, so I don't think JT Daniels is going to do it with that Georgia team.
I will say either, and I will go JT Daniels. I think this is it. Kyle Francis, Felix, you guys have kind of swayed me to Georgia being a very good team this year. That defense, I think, is going to be better than Alabama's. I do agree with Matt that I'm a little bit worried about what they're going to do on that offense, but if JT Daniels doesn't turn the ball over, he's 10 times better than I don't even know my next door neighbor that was out there throwing passes for Georgia earlier this year. I think JT Daniels can lead Georgia past Alabama, which is all it's going to take to get them into a playoff.
Bama's vulnerable this year. I really think they are. They lose a lot this year. And their one saving grace, and this is why I think, there's a universe where Georgia and Bama are playing in the SEC championship game and they're both undefeated.
Right.
Because Bama, like if you look at Bama's SEC schedule, they have Auburn, Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Florida. And Ole Miss. Like Texas, they're catching Tennessee at an awful time, LSU at an awful time, Auburn, new coaching staff, Bo Nix, whatever. Texas A&M loses their quarterback. Florida loses everything on offense. So while they're vulnerable, the cards, the deck is still kind of stacked in their favor this year. And I think if they both get to the SEC championship game undefeated, the winner, it doesn't matter. I think they both make the playoff. So I'm going to say both.
Yeah, I'll say both too. All right. One last question. The time-honored tradition here on the Devy Debate. Mr. Jackson, you have the honors because we have all answered this question for about 3 months straight, it feels like. Mr. Jackson, are you taking Bustin' Fields or Zach Wilson?
I don't know if I want to answer that question because I don't want to upset the host. Give me
which one? You're upsetting one either way, so.
Yeah.
I don't want to upset Felix.
I have all the power, so that's all right. See, look at this. Hey, there we go.
It's a safe space now.
Give me Justin Fields. I don't buy into the narrative. Yes, he appears to be a one-read quarterback. He appears to throw to the receivers once they become open. A lot of that was schemed into the way Ohio State ran its offense. I still think Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft. Yes, Zach Wilson is athletic. Yes, he throws a beautiful deep ball. Yes, he extends plays and can throw off platform well. But give me the guy that's done it at a higher level. Give me Justin Fields over Zach Wilson.
I have to throw this out there since Felix decided not to ask our guest last week. Both Carl and Boz are Fields. Both Fields. I feel like that's why you didn't ask, because you didn't want to be outnumbered. All right, so before we close out the show, I have to make a statement really quick to Mr. Jackson. You've been awesome in the Devy community. I appreciate it. It's been fun getting to know you and talking with you and everything. And so from Carl, Boz, Nate, and myself, we would like to welcome you to the program, League 3. You are the first entrant. You're actually the only person who doesn't know that you're in yet. We wanted to wait to announce it live tonight. I have sent your coaching offer letter to your Twitter DM. I'll link the bylaws to you as well. We're excited to get you into League 3. And again, thank you for being an awesome part of this community.
Let's go. I'm excited about it, man. I've been looking forward to it. I beat myself over the head for not getting into it last year, so I'm excited.
Congratulations to Mr. Jackson. You can find our written content at campustocanton.com. We got some player profiles, some really cool Google story about our top 12 in Superflex leagues. That's available now at campustocanton.com. Follow the show on Twitter at Devy Debate. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time. We will get him rescheduled soon. For Matt Bruning, for Matt Jackson, for Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
Boom.
I don't know why you were hesitating about doing the Southern. I thought you did. I thought that was.
It was
great.
Perfect. Like
I thought it was perfect.
I'm not comfortable stepping outside of my box. All right. I got my lane. I like being in it. I don't like stepping out of it.
Nailed it.
It was good.
North Carolina, come on and raise up. Carl, what did you think about Bruning's accent? I thought it was good.
When we see like a sudden like drop in downloads after this episode, we'll know why.
It's because you invited me. That's what it is.
No,
it's not your accent.
Oh, that accent was good.
Well, there you go. Now we have we got live content now for the show, for the stage. I'll wear a belt buckle and boots and everything for the Fantasy Expo. There you go.
They just sell those like at the corner store down there, right? You're in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to pick that up anywhere.
They give it away for free. You have no idea.
Yeah, that was fun. I hope we get some. That would be fun doing that. Obviously, again, I hope we get some people.
That's what I'm saying. We can do it. We'll do it live. Do it live at the Expo for everybody.
Oh, do fantasy court at the Expo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Instead of everybody,
I didn't catch that.
Okay. It's like, hey, who's the best draft pick this year? No, we'll mix it up.
No, I agree. No, I think that's a good idea.
said I'll dress up.
I
I'll
think
wear
that's
a
a good
polo. I'll wear a belt buckle. I'll go buy some shitty cowboy boots, and
I can get you a robe too. I could easily get you a robe.
I can easily get a robe, my friend. There's like a country store like 5 minutes from my house. It's really not that hard.
They got a judge's robe at the country store?
Oh, a judge's robe? No. I don't want to wear a judge's robe. I want to show up like all cowboyed out. I'm gonna get a fake mustache. I'm gonna come in there like Colonel Sanders.
Wait, we're gonna do fantasy court. You're gonna play your character. You gotta have a judge's robe on.
I don't have to have a judge's robe. Can I get the hair? I want the hair.
It's his courtroom, Felix. He makes the rules.
Courtroom, sir.
The law is what I say it is.
As long as you stick on a handlebar mustache, you'll be all right.
Oh, I'll have a very good mustache. I promise you that. I'm very good at getting this stuff. I've got like the Ed Sheeran wig for when I went as Ed Sheeran for Halloween one time. So I'll make it happen.
Good show.
That was fun. I missed it. I was interested. Do we have Quentin Johnson fans here? Was that Jermaine Burton going to be the question? Going to be very one-sided? Jermaine Burton or Quentin Johnson?
I mean, I was going to go Johnson.
I was going to go Johnson too. Yeah.
I've always liked Johnson.
No, I'm going Burton there.
Yeah, same as he's.
I got confused because on the sheet it was
Jalen Burger and DeMarcus Bowman. I
was gonna flip the other way on that one. I was gonna go Jalen Burger instead of DeMarcus Bowman.
I think that made the question more intriguing, like in terms of who I would have picked.
I definitely messed that up. I like Jalen Burger. You guys hate Jalen Burger. I like Jalen Burger.
I don't hate him. I just don't like his upright running style. I think it's an uphill battle to necessarily be that great in the NFL like that.
That pick was easy when you paired him up with Zach Charbonnet to me. I mean, I don't know how you pick Charbonnet over Jalen Burger. I don't get that.
It's just because I think Charbonnet is going to put up points. And again, I did it based on ADP value, which I know you don't have, and I assumed Austin and Felix didn't look at it. But where you can get Charbonnet compared to where you can get Burger is just ridiculous. And I'm not as sold. Like, I don't think Charbonnet is going to go be like an RB1 or anything at the NFL level, but I think he can get to the NFL. And I think Burger can too, but I don't think either one's going to be like overly successful at the next level. So
I've got him on a Devy roster, but he's like my last round pick. I'm not even excited about.
I don't know that we know that yet with Burger. I feel like I know what Zach Charbonnet is and what he could be. I mean, Zach Charbonnet, I don't think that he even gets drafted. Maybe if he gets drafted, maybe he's a day 3 guy. I don't think that we know Jalen Burger's ceiling yet. I mean, they play. How many games did they play last year?
You have to scout with anticipation, and I'm anticipating he's not going to be very good.
Who, Burger?
Yeah. Again, I don't love Charbonnet either. It's not like I'm trying to stand on and die on the Charbonnet hill, but first time, long time. Ty Chandler, thoughts from an FF Boz?
Never heard of him.
Yeah, neither have I.
Nobody? I'm not the big Ty Chandler. Where is he at? Is he at North Carolina?
He's in North Carolina. I like the landing spot.
Yeah. I would rather see Kamaro Edmonds get playing time over him.
I think he's in that. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Where would y'all have gone with that Kendall Milton versus Kevin Harris question?
Kendall Milton. Yeah.
Well, I was checking. That's the way
I wanted to do that because apparently there's like a very strong like Beyonce like beehive for Kevin Harris, and I wanted.
Well, Francis is a part of that. I mean, he had me go look back and look at him.
Yeah, he does have Harris. He has they have Harris very high.
Yeah,
Marshawn Lloyd, baby.
I just don't see the athleticism on the field that he's allegedly testing at. So
Harris? I don't know. I mean, I don't think he looks like I think he's an average athlete for the position. I see a lot of Chris.
Like he's supposed to be Carson. Like a great athlete. Chris Carson was a really, really good athlete for the position at 220. I mean, go look at Chris Carson's combine stuff. He was really, really good at the combine. No, let me say that and then look and be like all 50th percentile. And
no, I think
hold on, let's see.
Good. I remember.
I thought he was like that's how I found out about him
too when he came out.
4.58 40. I mean, his explosiveness.
220 pounds.
His explosiveness was good. 37-inch vert, 130-inch broad.
That's pretty good.
Didn't do like the shuttle and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he did it as pro day. His 3-cone was not very good. Interesting.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me either.
Let's see here.
I'll log off Twitter for the night.
He's still getting blown up about
Dude, every time I open my phone, it's like 20 notifications.
That's how you know you're
What
big
do you-
time.
What do you all think about Ramondre Stevenson's pro day?
It was about as bad as I expected it to be.
I have zero interest in Ramondre Stevenson.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
I thought it was what I expected it to be. It was fine. Like I wasn't expecting him to blow it all away. I don't like. I said, I posted that thing on Twitter today. Like after February or whatever, like my rankings are pretty much set. They'll shift slightly within tiers based on, if somebody like plummets in the draft or goes way earlier than I thought or something like that. But it's set. Like I've been watching these guys for 3 years. I don't care about their pro days at all. So
Make your acceptance letter.
I don't know if have you seen it yet? I've sent it to your Twitter DM.
Yeah, I saw that you sent it to Twitter. I just haven't opened it yet.
who else besides Brandon got in then?
So I'll pull up the list here. Yeah, Carl went all fancy for group 3 here. We didn't get any of this fancy ass letter shit. So Brandon Hay, Tyler Moore, Robbie Alpe, Matt Geiger, Colin Decker, Cole.
You guys invited Colin? Oh, I know.
I know. He was really super excited.
There goes the neighborhood.
That's a really impressive acceptance letter.
Tristan Cook,
Very well done.
our buddy Sal Cusimano,
Oh, awesome.
Matt Peterson, Andrew Starr, and James Riddell. Bunch of the guys from the Discord. I made sure Sal got in. I pushed for Sal.
Yeah, Sal's won like everything that we've done.
Yeah, I was
Everything
like,
that we've done,
way
he's
too
won.
active to not get into this league. He is in.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Well, I can't wait for Fantrax to open back up. I got trades to make.
I can. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. Have to set up League 3 and then transition all the rosters over onto MFL and go through all of the trades that you assholes have been doing in the Discord channels that were not completed at all on Fantrax, and I'm gonna have to go back in and do now. It's gonna be a pain.
I traded Carl, George Pickens. No, I traded him Frank Gore Jr. and Rashad Bateman for George Pickens and Brian Thomas.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the Brian Thomas trade the other day, dude. Austin, I'm telling you, because these two don't know because they weren't in it last year. The recruiting sheet that Nate, oh my god, dude, it is gonna change the game this year.
Thank God.
It will keep track of everything from like the smallest detail that they were all doing by hand last year is all going to be on these sheets now. You can see immediate updates on who gets what prospect when they commit to their things on your sheets. Like everything's going to be in there now. It's going to be a game changer. But it's also going to take like 3 more months to complete. So it's going to be a bit before we get to that part of the recruiting, but it's going to be awesome.
We're doing a second. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I gotta go. I gotta get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning for work, so I gotta head out.
Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you,
man.
sir.
Appreciate the invite. Yeah, y'all had a blast.
Have a good one.
Bruni, if we let you go now, can you upload the show tonight?
Yeah, Nate. I'm good. Whenever.
How'd your baseball draft go?
Good. I fucked up my last 3 picks. Sorry, there was like a massive fucking fly that got into my house and was freaking my kids out. And so like I had to turn. It's like my youngest son doesn't understand. He just sees a bug and he thinks it's bad. And so it was fucking huge. I don't know if you guys know what a horsefly is. It looked like a fucking horsefly. It was just flying around in my house, and my son thought it was like death coming to catch him. So
like a cicada? Cicadas used to scare me when I was little.
It's it wasn't that big, but it's just a big ass fly. Like I don't know. It's because my kids love to leave the front door and the back door open when they let the dogs out, and I don't know. It was just like flying around. I was like, oh well. And then my son,
you have dogs. You have multiple dogs.
Yeah, I've got a.
Are they outside when you do the show?
Nope, they're over there.
They're just quiet.
Yeah, they're very relaxed.
I've never heard your dogs.
Why not? Because I mute myself all the time.
Because what?
Because I mute myself. No, they're just.
I thought you said something else.
They just
Okay.
sit in my room. So just
I
like
thought
my
you
kids
said-
for the most part.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something else. All right.
Real quick, well, I got both of you here. Is it possible
Yeah.
for you guys to record a little bit earlier next week?
Mhm.
Bob wants to be on the show, but he can't. He doesn't know if he can get on at 9:30, so he wants to know if we can go a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I can. I mean, it just depends on what time, like, and I might get interrupted by kids, but today's been fine. So
Okay, I'll let him know.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Work's winding down a little bit. It's been nice, actually.
Can we go off so I can
Yeah.
ask you guys something?